everyone. Welcome to this special edition of a webinar that we have going on. I've invited Dan Garfield to join me here. Dan's the VP of Open Source at Octopus Deploy. I'm John Bristowe, the Community Director for Octopus Deploy. Thank you for your time and attention. I thought it'd be fun for Dan and I just to have a chat about everything that happened at KubeCon recently. So KubeCon is a conference that we were recently at. You would have seen it listed on our events page here. And it's held every year. It's held in Europe, it's held in North America, it's held in a lot of different places, but we had a lot of fun being there. And I thought I would, drag Dan onto the webinar here and ask him a bunch of questions about how it was and what Salt Lake City is like, et cetera, et cetera. So welcome, Dan. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to chat with you. Excited to talk about KubeCon because it is my favorite conference and it's the one that always is the special treat every year. I always tell people it's like our Super Bowl, but we do it twice a year.
How many times have you been to KubeCon?
I've been to every single KubeCon except for the very first one, which ironically was not far from where I lived at the time in San Francisco. And that's the only one that I missed. Every other one I've been to. So I think it's been like 10 now.
And sets the stage for folks. So KubeCon is like this big conference. Like it's actually gotten to the points where it's like bigger than your typical conference. How many people would you expect to see at, say, KubeCon North America these days?
So typically around 10,000, and I think this one was maybe just a little bit smaller, maybe because it's based in Salt Lake, and when you're on the coast, you kind of gather people from the West Coast or from the East Coast. But so between 8 and 12 or 14,000 people.
Wow.
For the week. So yeah, it's a sizable conference. It's not a small one.
That's awesome. And so this year was in again. Well, I guess is this the first time it was hosted in Salt Lake City?
First time it was in Salt Lake City. Yeah, we've done LA, Austin, we've did Chicago recently. We're gonna do Atlanta next year. So yeah, we've been a little bit all over the place, San Diego, but this was the first time in Salt Lake City.
You're gonna need one of those concert T-shirts with all the destinations written on the back, the roadie tour sort of thing. So
that's right.
Anyway, so this is the website. If you haven't seen it, this is the website for KubeCon, and like Dan was saying, it's a massive event. Lots of folks in attendance, and for obvious reasons, the main focus is Kubernetes, but there's a lot of stuff that goes around it. Is there not?
Yeah. So the way that KubeCon is structured is you have what we call the day zero events. And those are co-located conferences. So that's where we host ArgoCon. In the past, we've done GitOpsCon there. There's like a Prometheus Con was going on. There was an Edge Day going on. So all of those things happen on the day zero, which in this case was Tuesday. And then there is a day -1 that is focused on contributors. So if you're doing like Kubernetes contribution and you want to spend some time with that team, something like that. There are some events going on around that. And then there's like parties, like a lot of companies are throwing parties. There's like official parties. This one was pretty special because we also debuted and premiered the Argo documentary, which is now on YouTube. You can watch it for free. So that was pretty cool to do a premiere. And I actually have a picture of the premiere. Let me pull up. Yeah, here. So this was pretty funny. We have all these movie posters, and so I'm in the documentary as somebody who's worked on Argo, and so they had me sit down with some other people, and we actually signed posters for a bunch of people.
That's awesome.
which I kept on thinking, like, who's gonna put this poster up, for the Argo documentary? But it is a pretty popular project.
So tell me who's in the photo here. You're obviously in the photo. There's Joanna.
Yeah, so I'm on the left. Joanna is in the middle, and then Omer here is on the right. Omer hasn't actually been. I'm trying to think. He's at Intuit and basically is good friends with all of the contributors from that team since they were acquired through Applatix. So he's been a long time Intuit guy. And then to the right, going off the side, is Pratik, who is the original creator of the Argo project, and yeah.
So you made reference earlier to the documentary. So I've got a little bit of the video here. This is the trailer. Obviously, the sound's not playing, but this is the trailer. Yeah. So this is the trailer of Inside Argo that was teased out, and And you're in this. Paul's in this. We talk a lot about, I guess. So talk a little bit about the video's now up on YouTube. So tell me a little bit about the video itself. How long is it? What's featured, etc.
So it's not super long. It's like 30 or 40 minutes, and it talks about the story of how Argo was created, why it was so impactful, and a lot of people that are new to the Argo project don't realize that it's actually 4 projects. So there's a little bit in the history about how those 4 projects came to be. And originally, the original vision for Argo was to make a CI/CD tool that was essentially like Jenkins that runs on Kubernetes. And so it was a workflow pipeline, but it would have Kubernetes primitives. It would be, it would take advantage of multiple nodes, and it had all these kinds of things built in. That project is now known as Argo Workflows, and it's actually not used most commonly for CI/CD. It's most commonly used for data processing, AI, ML, data pipelines, things like that. And to get those pipelines onto a cluster, that's when Argo CD was invented. We needed a way to sync from Git the workflows and get them onto the cluster. So that's where Argo CD started, and that was really like Ed Lee, who was part of Pratik's team. He was leading product, and he basically grabbed Alexander Matsanayev and got something coded up in like a week to go start trying to build it out. Now, of course, we've spent years now working on Argo CD and improving it and expanding it. But the other projects are popular in their own right. Argo events, we talk about the history of that, and we talk about Argo rollouts, which is progressive delivery. And so that was pretty cool because for me, one of the things I mentioned in the documentary is that I was at the first meetup where I think it was Jesse was presenting what they had built with Argo Workflows, and I kind of share how underwhelmed I was by first sight. I was like, oh, okay, you can run a workload in Kubernetes, but like I thought at the time, like, okay, but like there are actually a lot of people, running workloads in places, and like, what is this doing that's special? And of course, the special sauce of Argo Workflows is that you can run a pipeline across many nodes. And so if you want to take advantage of like 500 GPUs in a single data pipeline and bring it all back together, really the only game in town. So at the time I thought, this is a little bit inaccessible for CI/CD. Turned out to be correct. I mean, it is used for CI/CD a bit, but really Argo CD is what has taken the fore to be used for deployment. And CI is kind of, continued to be a hotly contested space with lots of players.
I know you want to talk a lot about Argo, but we're here to talk about KubeCon.
I know, I'm sorry, shut up.
It's okay. You're going to geek out on it. It's fine. We like geeking out. It's good. So lots of photos, obviously, from the event itself. What were some of your takeaways from the event? What were some of the things that stood out for you?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. First off, we had Reggie from our team. She's a brand new Argo CD maintainer. She just got voted in the week before KubeCon. She's been working at CodeFresh Octopus Deploy for a couple of months now. Came from a bank where she had contributed to Argo before that. And that's a good point to mention. If you're interested in working on Argo, we actually are hiring full-time engineers. So feel free to reach out. I got to get the job rec up, but that's an opening that we have right now. But Reggie was there, and there was a moment when in the premiere, Pratik was up, and he's just asked, "Hey, everybody that's contributed to Argo, please stand up." And so that there was like a dozen people that all stood up. I stood up, Costa stood up, a bunch of other people, but Reggie was the only woman that was there that had contributed to the project. Mukalika was there as a product manager, but just in terms of contributing code. But she spent most of her time in the Argo booth, and she just told me afterwards that she was so impressed that she felt so included. She felt like people didn't have any hesitation coming and asking her questions about the Argo project and how it worked and the technical. So it's just a very inviting space. Everybody's welcome. So that was kind of, I know that's sidelined to the tech, but it's important, and it was pretty cool to see that. So I like that. With the conference itself, one of the things I noticed is that a lot of the going back to KubeCons in years past, there's lots of problems being solved. It's like, oh, like Kubernetes, we're working on figuring out how to solve storage. And then you kind of had all these like different tools come out. And then you have like a question of like, which one's going to be the one? What's the question? Like which tool is going to be the one? And there you've seen that like for service mesh, all these different kind of solution areas within Kubernetes over the years. And this year, the real hot buzz was around how do you orchestrate application changes, from one environment to another, upgrading from one cluster to another. Obviously, CodeFresh, Octopus, we just launched a solution to do that. There's a few other folks that have launched their own kind of vision for that. And so that was pretty exciting. People were super jazzed and super amped on that. So that was what another technology kind of takeaway. And then there was the other project that stood out to me as being interesting. At these conferences, now at every conference, everybody talks about AI the whole time. So they're like, what are you going to be doing in the future? And they're like, doing some AI. And you're like, what the heck does that mean? You want to know what's practical and what they're actually going to do with it. And so there was a cool project from Acorn Labs, and I don't think it's even public yet. They were just showing it off at the booth, but they've built essentially a DevOps chatbot. And so it hooks into your Prometheus. It monitors all your applications. It monitors Kubernetes. And when errors start to happen, it will try to remediate them automatically. And this is kind of an evolution. There's Kate's GPT, which is a cool open source project that many people have seen. Right. This one is an open source project that is basically meant to give you kind of a virtual, DevOps assistant, and it would present you with options. The demo they were showing, it was showing somebody had like an image pull back offs because it was a bad image tag. And the bot picked it up and said, hey, it looks like this is a bad tag. Why don't we roll back to this previous one? And you could let it remediate. And so I thought that was pretty cool to see. Nice. They still have a human in the loop. You can tell it to automatically do that stuff. But to like all of us, I think anybody that's involved in software delivery knows that the most amount of work is done in gathering the information, figuring out what's going on. So having something that just kind of puts that up and suggests remediation paths, and you can kind of understand it very quickly. That's pretty cool. So that was a demo that stuck out to me. And then just the massive enthusiasm. Just everybody was super excited to be there. And every single KubeCon, and this is true at ArgoCon as well. At ArgoCon, we asked everybody, hey, raise your hand if this is your first ArgoCon. And right. A solid 80% of the audience is their first one.
That's awesome.
So the project is just growing. There's just more people adopting all the time. And I've seen that at every single conference. It's always growing, and the percentage of new people stays roughly the same. There's always more people that are coming into the project. So there's a lot of energy there.
Speaking of people coming in, here's Mario from Peru. Welcome, Mario. Mario's working on practicing for Argo certification. So I think it might be worthwhile mentioning some of the resources we have for someone like Mario, including our new certification. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is at learning.codefresh.io. And many of you are already familiar with level 1 and level 2 certifications, which have been out for more than a year now. We launched the first one about 2 years ago. We're now on year 3, and we just came out with the level 3, which is GitOps with Argo for Enterprise. And so these trainings contain quite a few labs. Between these 3 levels, you have about 30 some odd labs where you can get hands-on with Argo, learn how to structure your repos, learn how to set up progressive delivery. The thing that I am really proud of with these trainings and these labs is that they include all the best practices. Because when you first just use a tool like Argo, a tool like that is flexible, right? Like you can use it in a lot of different ways. And so we've noticed that there are a lot of anti-patterns that have kind of emerged from people trying to apply what I would say is old world thinking to cloud native applications like this. And so that can get them into trouble. So doing this kind of training will set you up for success. And then if you want to go and pass the CNCF Argo certification as well, this is the best way to practice for it because it does cover all that material. We actually contributed to the CNCF Argo certification and used some of the learnings from what we built here. So this is really meant to be a training and certification, and it pairs very well with the CNCF certification.
That's awesome. So just bringing that up here. This is the Certified Argo Project Associate, or what do you guys call it? Kappa or something like that?
Yeah, Kappa. Yeah.
All right, cool. So folks can sign up here, check out more information over on the CNCF website, which is at cncf.io. I did want to, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Argo Mobile. So tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, so this is, and shout out to Colleen in the chat for saying that the trainings are such a generous offering. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you for taking them. So the Argo Mobile was born. This is my personal Forerunner. This was born out of my desire to soup up my Forerunner and make it look awesome. And I figured out a way to scam Octopus into paying for that by having the designs incorporate the stuff that I really wanted, which included the Argo mascot as well as the Kubernetes logo, since these are projects that I work on and I'm so passionate about. So a lot of people asked me, they're like, hey, did you do that? You know, did you get this wrap? It's not a full wrap. I guess it's technically a set of decals. Yeah. They said, did you just get this for the conference? And I got it in time for the conference. And like, oh, so you're going to get it removed? And I was like, no. What are you talking about? Why would I remove it? But people were really excited. I actually bribed a valet. I think in the US we call it tipping. I tipped a valet to leave it out front in front of the conference center for the whole conference, and gave away prizes for people that would post a picture of it. And I had over a dozen people post pictures of it. I ran out of prizes, and the valet told me all day people were coming and taking pictures of this car. Everybody that was coming in and out of the conference center, everybody was super stoked about it. And I had people send me private messages that they'd received on Slack that were like, who's this guy? This guy seems awesome. And I was like, it's me. Come hang out. So
can I make a slight comment here about your ski rack there, the bike rack?
My bike rack.
There? That is insane. You must have, I know, and I'm obviously throwing you softballs here, but you must have a large family. Of course you do, but yes.
Yeah, so this is a 5 bike rack, and I have 5 kids. Not all of them are on bikes right now, but being able to handle 5 bikes was an important requirement that I had.
Fantastic. That's awesome. That came out really well. I'm really impressed with that.
Yeah, it looks good. And my main challenge now is that I have to just be a very conscientious driver, and don't want to make people dislike Argo or Kubernetes because of my poor driving or something.
So in terms of highlights, there is also the Day Zero video, which was published up on the CNCF website recently. This is kind of giving a taste of what was there. Lots of snow, evidently. Not lots of snow, but on the first day it was snowing.
It was perfect. Sorry. Everybody got to see the snow, but nobody had to trudge through feet of snow.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you get a really good sense of what was there. Another thing that happened, of course, was we had our founder and CEO of Octopus, Paul, deliver a sponsored keynote. Argo is winning everywhere. Were you in attendance for this? Did you check this out? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought Paul did a great job. He basically shared a little bit about why Argo is successful and how this has led to Octopus acquiring CodeFresh to carry that vision forward. And one of the things I've been really impressed with since joining Octopus last January is that there is a real sense of mission to continue doing continuous delivery and becoming the standard. And Paul's only doubled down on the open source work we were doing. So we've been hiring more people. Like I mentioned earlier, we're hiring more. So that's been really cool. And he was kind of talking about that and how, GitOps has taken such a hold and, why Argo is effective and how we're investing in it. And yes, that means our trainings too are available, all that kind of stuff. And so I think he did a great job. His talk is now on YouTube.
Yes.
So you can catch it there.
And
Really
along with all the other
discovery.
talks that are there, there's a huge playlist of talks just from ArgoCon
Oh,
alone.
perfect. You got it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you did the closing remarks here, as I've well noted. I'm sure you're like, yeah, go be awesome, go do things, etc., etc.
It's pretty quick.
Yes,
I did.
but
I did give a talk doing a deep dive on how Argo CD handles deletion, because
yes,
there's a lot of little kind of nuances to that to understand. Kostis gave a great couple of talks. He gave one at KubeCon on doing laser focused progressive delivery.
yep.
Reggie gave a couple of really good talks. So there was a lot of content and a lot of chance to meet people that were doing interesting things and talk through their projects.
Yeah, your title was pretty awesome here. Whoops, how not to accidentally delete everything. I think we've
So
all done that.
I'll tell you that's actually based on a conversation I had with someone. I won't reveal the company. I'll tell you that you all know of them. You've all used them. You're all deeply familiar with them. But this engineer had an experience where they were going through and upgrading Argo CD, and they decided that something was stuck. So they went and deleted a lot of the components, and they specifically deleted the Argo CD CRDs. And when you do that, it automatically deletes all the things that are owned by that CRD, which is all the
Yes.
applications. And all the applications had been set up to have finalizers, so they would automatically delete their resources that they managed.
Oh, so it cascaded down.
So he accidentally deleted everything. So I should say the engineer, not necessarily he, but the engineer accidentally deleted everything. And I asked the engineer, I said, hey, this is a great topic. It's a great story. I know you're embarrassed. Would you like to come and give the talk with me at ArgoCon? And they said no. They did not want to revisit that. they said you go tell the story, but I don't want to revisit that on stage in front of people. So
yeah, that you learn more from your losses than your wins, right? So
right.
yeah, I think a lot of us have the scar tissue of our failures. I remember we ran an event back in the day when I was at Microsoft called Fail Camp, and we rented a big gong for it, and we let people tell their stories of failure. And believe me, there's a lot of great stories out there.
Did you say a gong? Like you would hit it when?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
When they hit their
I'm
failure
old enough
mode,
to remember the gong,
the
show. So that's right. So a gong is makes a boosh sound, and there was a very famous show back in the day called the Gong Show, where basically if they didn't like you, they would just start hitting the gong and trying to get you off the stage, sort of thing. So if you want to find out more about what were some of the things that we did during KubeCon, you can go to this URL. This is our landing page basically for the event. But as Dan was saying, lots of talks there from various folks. Did we end up hosting a Jeopardy in the booth? Is that right?
We did host Jeopardy in the booth, and so that was kind of a funny thing because I had lined up several contestants to come and play, and only one of them showed up. So we ended up picking 2 people from the audience, and I thought, oh my gosh, they're gonna get murdered by the contestant that was asked to play beforehand, and actually an audience member won.
Oh wow, that's great.
So they actually won on the trivia, and so that was a lot of fun, and we had a really big crowd there, and people were laughing, and there's a lot of jokes in there. And we're going to be doing Jeopardy again at Shipped in just a few days.
So Shipped is, for those folks who don't know, just bring up the URL here dynamically on the fly. This is live, so you can see it. Shipped is our 2-day event, which is kicking off later today for me. But we've got a whole bunch of sessions listed, and Dan will be speaking there. So if you want to find out more and you want to register, you can register by visiting octopus.com/shipped, and should be a lot of fun. We've got lots of great talks from the usual suspects, so to speak. But we should have a great time there. We'll have prize giveaways, and we'll have a chat and all that sort of stuff. So it's going to be lots of fun. So make sure to check that out. Thanks for the little plug there. And if you
did
want,
you see that Moshe from the chat was at Jeopardy and is calling it out?
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
So we actually, okay, so it's not just me saying that it was awesome. Thank you, Moshe, for calling it out.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, so if you want to check out more of the highlights of videos and such, you go check out or subscribe. I would recommend that you do so to the CNCF YouTube page. There's videos that go up all the time. Like, it's it's like death by videos, basically. So look at this wall of videos here. But there's ArgoCon, there's Kubernetes on the Edge Day, which we also sponsored. Help me out here. I'm drowning in videos. Like, look at this. I'm not stopping. I just keep hitting page down, page down. It's just videos after videos.
Some of them are short, is I guess I would say. That's nice. But honestly, you can just throw on the playlist.
Yes.
Or you can just go through and find the topics. I mean, there's tracks and stuff listed there, so you can find the ones that you're most interested in. But to me, usually coming out of KubeCon, I like the talks, and I usually go and watch this. Not all of them, but I usually watch a good handful of ones that kind of came up over and over again. But the best part of KubeCon is what we call the hallway track, and the hallway track is those are the conversations you have in the hallway. And that's where you talk to people who, I talked to somebody who's working on scaling with Argo CD, and they have well over 80 instances of Argo CD, managing hundreds of clusters, many of those clusters with over, 600,000 resources on them. And so, they have different scaling challenges than others. Those are the kind of conversations I love to have with people. They didn't get sanctioned by their boss to come and talk about these technical challenges. They didn't have to get permission to fly out and give a talk. They were just trying to work through technical problems and willing to have very open conversations in private. So that's what I find is the best part of KubeCon. And there were a lot of those conversations going around everything: Kubernetes, GitOps, AI, Argo, CD in general, you name it.
Yep. Anything latest to share with our audience while we have them around CodeFresh? Anything that you want to highlight here quickly before we wrap things up?
Sure. Yeah, I'll highlight a couple of things. First, in our platform, we launched our environments and promotions feature, which allows you to model in a declarative way using a CRD. And we'll talk about that at Shift 2. I just submitted a talk for that. How changes from one app should be promoted to another Argo CD app. And it could be in a different instance. And it's all done with CRDs, and it's really cool. We also offer enterprise support for Argo, and that's something that we made available to supporting open source Argo. In the past, you've needed to use our platform in order to get access to that support. It includes technical account management. We'll do issue prioritization. If you have a bug in the community version of Argo CD, we'll prioritize getting that fixed. We'll jump on a call and help you remediate. We'll help you plan upgrades, plan architecture, plan rollout, all that kind of stuff. So that's cool. We have a security distribution of Argo CD and Argo rollouts that we're releasing that will allow you to get the latest security patches and for third-party libraries. And if you have compliance requirements or SLA requirements on patching things, we can meet those. And lastly, we have the level 3 GitOps certification that we mentioned earlier. So you can do GitOps for the enterprise now. And that one's very cool. I contributed a lab on using the pull request generator to generate a virtual cluster for every pull request on your application and deploy your apps to it that will automatically clean itself up. And it's like two 20-line config files to set up that entire thing, and suddenly you can deploy thousands of V clusters with unique temporary environments. So that's just one of the examples. That's what I worked on. Costas did basically everything else, but we have some really cool labs in there.
That's awesome. The other thing I wanted to highlight was I showed this while you were talking, is the new roadmap page, which is at roadmap.codefresh.io. So if you want to find out what's going on with CodeFresh, not only will you see what's been released, but you also see what's being planned and also what's under consideration. And if you have an idea for something that the folks over at working on CodeFresh can work on, you can submit your own ideas. So you can actually vote by, make it awesome, that sort of thing. You can also delegate how important this feature is to you. So by using this feature, you can let the team know what's going to be important there. So awesome stuff. Anything to wrap up the webinar here, highlighting KubeCon?
No, definitely come to Shipped, and don't miss those talks. We're going to have a lot of great content that John's been curating. So
marinating, working with. So there you go. Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Dan, and thank you for your time and attention. Just a little quick webinar here, giving you a little bit of a highlight, a taste of what happened at KubeCon. Hopefully we'll see you at the next one. We are going to be at KubeCon India. You can find out more about this on our events page. But until next time, everyone, happy deployments. Take care, everyone.